Hey guys, and welcome to Monifactory Progression Log number 10. I had a restful break. I didn't get on until around Thursday or so, Wednesday. Um, Tuesday came around, I didn't really feel like playing, so I didn't. That's a good, you don't really want to, force yourself to play, otherwise you're going to be in a bad way. Alright, but despite the break, I do still have some decent stuff to show you actually. Have gotten fixed a couple of things around the base, added some things, did some pretty big progression milestones too, so that's going to be good. First off, I do have the Quark suit now, which is great. We could have made this for a while. It's actually not that like once you get like ruthenium or iridium, that's pretty much it. You need LUV circuits and some platline effectively, but that's basically about it. It's not too bad after that, and it counts as a spacesuit, or at the very least, it nullifies everything that you get all the negative effects you get by not wearing a spacesuit. You're not on fire. It nullifies being on fire, refills your breath bar and stuff. So anything that not wearing a spacesuit would do is nullified by the Quark suit, and it's very nice. Also, it makes me super fast. I have the IV exoskeleton still, and man, I am super fast. But we'll go over here, and you guys will notice that these are the large plasma turbines running the helium gas. In total, these make about 10 amps of ZPM between all 8 when all of them are running. And even this isn't enough to fully consume the plasma of our brand new fusion reactor. I actually set this up. We set this up last night. Um, we finished it up. Right now we're using it for power, and it's running at ZPM. I think it's recipe tier of LUV, but running at ZPM power. I might turn this off and pull some energy hatches out of it, so it goes down to LUV. Um, because we have to do them in pairs effectively if we want to wall share them, and we do want to wall share them so we can get as many in here as possible, as well as save on the casings. The casings are quite expensive. However, you could only put input buses on the outer rings. You can't put them on the inner rings, which would be ones that aren't shared. Only output hatches can go on the inner ring, and input buses have to go on the outer ring. So that means the input buses are shared. So that means you're more or less, if you're wall sharing fusion reactors, you're basically doing them in pairs. So we'll have a pair of helium plasma turbines, or helium plasma turbines, and then we're gonna need to do like for example europium is something we have to do. But liquid europium. Oh, okay. That's good. This doesn't become a plasma. I know americium starts off as a plasma. Some like of the recipes get turned into plasma. Um, what is it? I know it's helium, uh, titanium. What else is plasma? I thought or americium was plasma. Actually, here we can just yeah, americium plasma. Okay, so I was kind of worried. I hadn't really checked all the recipes, so I was kind of worried that everything would start off as plasma, um, and then have to be converted into through turbine generators. But it looks like that's not the case. Like I said, I hadn't really been looking at it. I was so focused on getting this one done. I really like this area. This is the area that we were originally planning to use for the LCRs a couple weeks ago, about a month and a half ago or so. But we moved the LCRs and we put them over there instead because I liked that area better. And I kind of wanted to build. I was looking for areas to build a fusion, and I didn't really see anywhere else that really kind of inspired me. So I was having a really hard time figuring out where to put it. I really try and find like terrain features that go, yep, I'm putting it right there. And I couldn't really find anywhere else to put it. Except when I saw this cave, I realized that like hey, I could probably like, sink it down and stuff, and I still need to fix the cave up a little bit. I did kind of square it off a little bit too much, so it looks a little bit funky. So I still have to do a little bit of actually not a little bit. I have to do a lot of deco work in here still. Um, it's not as complete as I would like it to be. I want to, round out this cave down this way, and then probably round that over there and that corner and stuff. I wanted to sort of make it look like a cave, more or less, that we just built the fusion reactors into. Also, another thing is obviously they don't glow. When even like I was hoping that with the fusion glass and when they're active, they have like glowing effects in there, like the nuclear craft fusion, not the nuclear craft neoteric from this one. The OG 1.12 nuclear craft had fusion reactors, and they glowed when they were active and they had like clear electromagnets. So I was hoping they would glow, and you could like walk through the whole glowing fusion reactors. Um, but unfortunately that's not the case. So instead I just put some shimmering glowstone on the other side and then kind of wrapped it in iron plating. Um, I think it looks pretty good right now. We'll have to see how it looks when it's just like a solid tube of fusion reactors. If it'll also look that good. But so far, I really like this. I think it looks really good. I still have to do, like I said, more deco work over here. It's definitely a work in progress. But I think this is a very good start. It bodes well for the rest of the fusion plant area. So this is also on a subnet. I just put everything on subnets these days. It's I love like if I love subnets. Subnets are so good. They allow you to just like I can basically it's fancier drawer systems. You know, I can just use an ME output bus to dump into if I since I don't obviously if I'm dumping fluids because the way like when ATM9 I didn't use subnet for fluids because I never blindly dumped fluids into the network. The only fluid storage drives that were on my ATM9 AE network were partitioned. So they only went where I wanted them to go. Um, However, that is not the case. We have a few unpartitioned. Let's see. We have a few. Oh, not here. We have a few unpartitioned fluid drives on the main net. This was because we had some fluids early on and we were dealing with them. And also, it's nice to have this kind of storage, especially with like if we cancel crafting recipes that include a fluid before the fluid is consumed. That was one of the big problems I had in ATM9. I had to keep adding partition drives specifically just for that one fluid. Uh, so we had like 10 drives for like fluids that we almost never had just because I needed that somewhere for them to go because I had canceled those recipes. So it's nice to have some non-partition fluid drives, but that does add some extra challenges when dealing with fluid storage on a planar logistics, especially with ME output buses, which just blindly dump into, like I said, the AE system they're attached to. So if you want to use them, you kind of have to put them on subnets with partition drives, or just put them on subnets. But yeah, so we have Fusion here set up. I'll set up another plasma turbine probably, or I'll probably skip it. Um, so I can set up the next pair, and that'll make europium. And then once we have europium, we can really start getting into ZPM. Because europium is one of the main materials you need for higher tiers of just stuff in general. For example, ZPM energy hatches require europium, and that's a big thing. I also want to get europium because our capacitor bank is honestly kind of small compared to what we can do now. For a while it was fine, but now it's just like I want the turbines to run for as long as possible. Like obviously, so how plasma turbines work is they have an RPM, and that spins up. As the turbine spins up, it produces more and more power. So each one of these plasma turbines produces 183,000 and a half worth of EU, which I think is like 8 amps of LUV or something like that. Between these two turbines, it's 1.4 amps of ZPM. So I guess it's like 5.6 amps of LUV, um, something like that. So it produces a lot of power. And also because I'm transforming up here because I'm using the superconductor cables because the thermal series superconductors can only hold 16 amps. So I had to transform up so I could get 16 amps on a single line. Uh, even then it's still in two pairs. I really kind of hate what I've done here. I've had to. It's super scuffed. It's so scuffed. Um, so as you guys know, I have level emitted various the generators throughout the base, like the engines and the reactors and now the plasma turbines. I haven't taken out the engines yet because these are kind of like super backup. Like, oh my God, everything's melted down. What do we do? What do we do? Everything is exploding. We still have some engines here that are built out, so if necessary, we can just fuel them, and just bootstrap the AE system back online. Um, so how I have set them up is the front one is now for the plasma turbines, and they turn on when the battery is at 5% and turn off when the battery is at 95%. And then, actually, I don't need to go under it for this. And then if we come over here and we look at the bottom, this is for the fission reactors over in Montana. They turn on when the battery is at 3% and turn off when it's at 65%. Eventually, the reactors might get decoupled from power. It might just run all the time since we were kind of running them at this point, or we kind of need them for their isotopes, and while we were running them for power, we had level limited them because fuel. We just kept burning through all our fuel super super fast, and I kind of got tired of wasting all of it. And uh, we were gonna burn through all the fuel anyway. Like I said before, the server is running 24/7, so they would have been burning through their fuel anyway. So it's better if it were a little bit more efficient about how they burned all their fuel. But how I have level limited, you guys can't see it because it doesn't let me. Let's see if there we go. I have an advanced energy detector on the actual dynamo hatch. This is the dynamo hatch that feeds the base. Um, and this is also super super scuffed, and I have to come down here. So I'm actually using a redstone card, the first time I've ever used a redstone card. So all of these are, extraction energy cards with cryobulus. We have cryobulus now, and then one is a redstone card. And this is so because the only place you can place a detector cover on a dynamo hatch is the face that provides energy effectively. For some stupid reason. I don't know why it's like that, but it just is. So if I want to level emit off this, which I do for the engines, I have to use part of the laser node to transfer the redstone signal to this P2P, and this P2P turns on the engines. And what this one does is, so basically, if the battery is completely empty and the dynamo hatch is also almost completely empty, the engines will turn on at 10% of the dynamo's capacity and turn off when it's 90%. I didn't set it to 100% because, as you guys can see, the power is fine and it's not 100% right now. So if I set it to 100%, it just would never turn off. So I set it to 95, and that will hopefully, keep the base running while and if I can figure out why it's exploded. I do need to make that P2P the one that goes to the lamps around the base. I haven't done that yet because I didn't really feel like doing that last night. But it's something I'm gonna have to do eventually. I'm also just gonna have to just eventually just tear out everything that's over here and rebuild this whole battery area. It's a fucking mess. I really hate it. It's super scuffed. Um, but that's not for right now. It works for now, and I'm not really going to be adding any more power at this stage. I do know that we can add more plasma turbines. I have them already crafted, and they're already good to go. All I have to do is just build them out. We are producing excess plasma right now too, so we can support them. The problem is we just don't need them, and I just don't really want to deal with the logistical hassle of building turbines again, because like I said, these are more than enough for what we need. When they're active, they produce like 2 million EU a tick on their own. Once they're all spun up, uh, and that doesn't count what the reactors can do. And since they're off for most of the time at this stage, if we ever surge really really high past what these turbines can do, the reactors will kick in and they'll like double the power output until they start running out of fuel, which is possible and will happen eventually if they burn for so long. But I really don't see us using that much power. I had on demand running last night, and we were running at about 2.1 million or 2 million EU tick out, 2 to 2.1, and that was well within our surge capabilities of the reactors and then the engines with the plasma turbines. The plasma fusion reactor is also completely self-sustaining at this point. We are positive on deuterium and positive on tritium. So that can just run forever. We don't have to worry about like that running out of fuel at any point in time. As long as we have power, effectively, we have fuel. So yeah, I'm happy we have plasma now. So plasma turbines is really really big for us. This is kind of like the end game stage power up until you get like Naquadah reactors, which is something we could do. They produce 3 amps of LUV each. They can't be overclocked though, and that is a lot. Each one would produce about half, a little less than half, or a little bit more than half, sorry, of what a pair of plasma turbines would do, and it would take Naquadah bolts. But we already have plasma set up, so I don't really see a point in building that. We'd have to get research station for that before we can do that, which is somewhat soon. That's like the next big thing. Anyway, over here in Hubris, it's been rebuilt a little bit. So before, what we were doing over here was we had rubber wood on a greenhouse, and we had fertilizer. We were making fermented biomass over here. Fermented biomass, we put in a distillation tower for lots of useful materials. We've had it going for a while. However, I moved it over to Petrochem 2 because over here I wanted to rebuild Deep Slate Line. We were for a while we were actually burning thorium faster than we were making it, and I didn't realize that until a couple days after we had set up some thorium reactors. And when I got on one day, we were straight up out of thorium, and I was concerned about that. And I decided that it kind of just needed rebuilding anyway. And we could actually build the big multi-block rock cycle simulator, so we do that. Then we crush it here at IV with another macerator. We get lots and lots of thorium. We get deep slate too, and then over here we centrifuge. Originally we weren't actually doing that, and then I realized we were low on fluorine gas too, and I didn't like that. So I fixed that with some multi-block stuff. And we obviously were making a bunch of deep slate over here too. So I just set up a multi-block centrifuge here. And then we have biotite dust, multi-block electrolyzer. I haven't pulled out any of the old systems because they were all mostly self-contained, and just kind of extra stuff on top of the materials that we already use. So I didn't really see I don't really need to pull them out. If they get pulled out because that area gets rebuilt, then so be it. That's basically what it is. Whenever I get around to, because the deep slate production is actually over here, for example, where we make the first thorium setup is just over here, and I didn't really see a point in tearing this all out. I might want to make some changes over here because how this one works, this one pulls just from this. This is a very compact setup. There's an EV input bus here that just pulls straight from the drawer. We have an output bus on the other side that dumps the deep slate into a drawer controller, which then just puts it into the drawers, which then gets pulled directly into the maceration. However, I may want to use like an ME input bus and just so it can pull from the other deep slate as well. That being said, though, it's obviously more than good enough. We have more thorium than we're using, especially now since we have fusion and the reactors aren't really going to be running that often, if at all. And we have more than enough fluorine too, so we're all good on that. So I think it's fine for now. It's good enough, right? Factory floor 2 hasn't really seen too many changes. I don't think I really added anything over here besides maybe some more IV machines. Nope, that's everything's the same over here. It's been a busy couple of days. Added a bunch of stuff. Oh yeah, I had to move methane gas over here because what I did do as well is let me go over to Petrochem. There's been some more upgrades. So last week you guys saw that we had I upgraded these ones to the multi-block ones. However, because we wanted tritium fuel and I wanted to add in a multi-block distillery for Ender Air, since obviously we need that for fusion, it's like the main source of deuterium and tritium, so it was worth setting up. However, because I needed more space, because the old setup that I had didn't leave enough space for a multi-block distillery, so I had to, I was like, I'll have to, move the electrolyzer and stuff, and then I realized if I'm tearing out that system, I might as well upgrade the large fractioning distillery for, upgrade to a large fractioning distillery for the fermented biomass distillation. So we have that now as well, and this is all on a subnet too. I just added, I already have a subnet here as well, so I might as well just, finish off this machine pad, and it works great. I love subnets. I love subnets so much. Before, by the way, the fermented biomass just ran forever, always. Mostly because what I wanted from it was fertilizer, because we used that in the greenhouse, and everything the fermented biomass gave us we got from somewhere else, so I didn't really need it for the gases that much, especially now that we're not really sipping away using hog gasoline or gene. We were using a lot of petrochem products for that for a while, so it was nice to have those gases, but now that the only time gene gets burned would be in a, oh my god, everything's melted down and exploded, we need power to bootstrap the AE system so I can, fix shit. Because that is the only situation in which gene would burn, and then the only other situation use of gene is used in cryobulus ingots, which really isn't that much of a drain, a consumption. We don't. It's fine, honestly, at this stage. So I'm not really that concerned about running out of petrochem products, especially since we're still, distilling stuff over here, and we also get methane from stuff over here as well. Um, so we're all good. We also still have we're still positive on methane too. 2.1 million buckets of methane. It's kind of crazy. So we're doing really well in terms of resources too. I've been running a bunch of miners. Oh, I also need to mention that I added Flux networks yesterday. I think I put the node over here. And this, just so you guys are like concerned about whether they're cheap or not, they're not cheap. Monifactory has already built in compatibility, and all their stuff is Gregified. And this is fine. The Flux blocks are fine, and this isn't too bad at all. Like, this is actually very, very nice, because normally Flux Networks doesn't do automation for Flux powder, for Flux dust, but, we can do that here, unless all this stuff is passived already. But Flux cores, they're not particularly expensive in the grand scheme of things. But the biggest thing about them is they're very heavily gated towards LUV materials. It's not that bad, right? Like Platline, some LUV circuits, some stuff. So they're not like super. They're not cheap either, but they're not like super super expensive. They're expensive enough that you can't spam them around as the only power solution throughout the base like I did in ATM9. But they're not so expensive that it's a real struggle to make more than like 3 or something. Um, so we have that, and that powers all the various miners we have on various dimensions that I have to move. We do have the T4, the T3 miners. We can make those now. I have 4 of them running around right now. I don't really feel like putting more out there, mostly because of, I guess the power consumption at the time. But now that we have the plasma turbines, I could probably put more out there if I really wanted to. But I'm already getting sick of moving miners, guys. Like, I spent so many hours moving miners in ATM9. I probably spent half of that playthrough just endlessly like rolling miners like every 6 days or something, and it was a pain in the ass. And because this server is running 24/7, I'd have to do it every day, and I'm just not interested in spending an hour and a half every day or an hour every day moving a bunch of miners. It's just I'm not really interested in doing that. And we're also pretty good on most materials, like I said. Like, the only thing I'm really kind of looking for, that I'm really, hunting for, actually, is arsenic. We're going to be using arsenic in, so we make arsenic vapor, and this gets used in liquid darmastium. This is the UV material, the UV machine frame material. This gets used, let's see, assembler, the UV dynamo hatches, the UV, let's see, where is it? Obviously it's going to be the hulls as well. They're the machine casings and stuff too. So we're going to need a lot of that. We're going to need a lot of arsenic for that. I know that in ATM9 I burned through just I think like 50,000 or like 60,000 arsenic over the playthrough. And we still need arsenic for other things as well. So I will have to level limit whatever fusion reactor we use. I'll have to try and figure out like a threshold, I guess. I think there's threshold level emitters in this. Yeah, there we go. So I'll have to, use that or whatever. But I'm trying to get a pretty big stock of arsenic before we get to that stage. Most of the miners right now are actually on Mars. Mars is the best source of arsenic I found, because cobaltite. Actually, we can just go to Mars. Mars has the best source of cobaltite. It spawns a lot. Like, I've obviously spent a lot of time moving all the miners and stuff and going all over the place. But a nickel vein, like a garneyite, pentlandite, and cobaltite vein, that stuff is a great source of arsenic. I'm pretty sure it's the best source besides Realgar. But Realgar doesn't really spawn in great veins. When Realgar does spawn, like this vein, let's see if there's anything nearby. Probably not. I've probably eaten most of it. But as you guys can see, that Realgar, so you can see like cobaltite over here spawns in a very small area, very dense. And Realgar spawns in these veins that's huge. Like not very dense, very lightly spread out. It's probably the same amount of ore in general, but it's a lot more of a pain in the ass to mine, right? Like this chunk only has like 23, this chunk has 26. So there's hundreds here over this whole, vein, but it's just awful to try to mine. Eventually, I might, throw some big miners down here for it and stuff, just because I kind of want it, and the tetrahedrite would be nice too. Um, but I've been hunting for cobaltite veins instead, and I've just been, rolling the miners pretty much across the area, just, plonking them down on top of it and getting lots and lots of stuff. So that's been our main source of arsenic, and it's been very, very lucrative. Um, let's see, what else have I done? I haven't made any changes to on demand. I guess we can go. Here's Petrochem 2. I haven't upgraded charcoal byproducts yet. I probably should, but we don't really need to at this stage since we don't really use anything over here anymore. Originally, we set this up because we were going to make nitrobenzene as a fuel before we had, when switching to Greg Tech Power. However, we ended up not doing that because of, the rotor situation. The reason why the plasma turbines are fine now is we are using HSSE rotors, which have 56 hours of durability or so, something like that. So these are pretty good. So we don't have to change these every day, and especially because the turbines don't run all the time, they're also turned on by power or by a by a low battery power, that they're not running all the time. So that'll help extend their lifespan too. And HSSE isn't that bad. We have that on passive anyway already. The reason why we have so much is when I set up I'll come to that in a minute, actually. And then you can see, these lights now turn on when the plasma turbines are on. I want to switch those so when the engines are on, so those will be off, hopefully forever, and will never turn on again. Um, so, yeah, I do have to move those P2Ps over, but like I said, I wasn't really that interested in doing it. Um, so yeah, I haven't upgraded that. I might do it eventually, just so it's more consistent with the rest of the base, and so I can move some of this stuff into subnets. But again, it's not really a high priority or a priority at all. And fermented biomass has just been plonked down over here. It's not running because we have 500,000 fertilizer at this stage, so it's fine. We still do, so we don't really need this greenhouse anymore because of our lack of consumption of charcoal byproducts and wood tar and stuff. It was really funny actually. We had eaten this stack. The stockpile of charcoal was up to like 3.5 million, and then went down to 0 over a couple of days, and is now back up to 3.5 million after I added some another set of. I think after I upgraded all these to RTM, because RTM alloys makes them very very fast. Um, it doesn't just save on power. I can see it like coil. Like RTM alloy coils makes the pyrolyzed ovens 200 times the speed. Um, so you effectively save power on that. All right. Um, next stage over here is EBF recipes. I've started in the process of moving various EBF recipes over that, like HSSE and HSSG and HSSS. All of those recipes can actually also be done in an alloy blast smelter, and I've started moving them over to alloy blast smelters so I can use, because there are many things that are EBF specific, things like cryobulus and a few other ingots and stuff here and there as well, that have to be done in EBF. So things that are done in ABS, I'm just moving them over there so I can save space. So this one does HSSE, I believe. This one does, I don't know. And now that we're over here, the problem I had while we have so much HSSE is because when I had set up this alloy blast smelter, I had set up the drives and stuff, but I forgot to whitelist to pull in the molten HSSE into the input hatch. So after I checked it or whatever, we had like 1,100 buckets of this stuff, and we had so much of it. So we have a lot of HSSE, so this won't turn on for a while. We're also making Naquata alloy over here. I think this one is, I don't know what this one is. Oh yeah, titanium tungsten carbide, because you need that for the yeah, you need that for the the LUV, not the LUV, sorry, the flux networks, the flux nodes. They get used in the cores. So I needed that. What's this one? Uh, Oh, this is HSSS, I believe. Um, so we have all the different high-speed steels over here. There's a few more that I can move. And like I said before, I decided that these columns of ABS pads are going to be the same subnetwork, so I don't have to build another vacuum freezer over there because I want to cram in a few more ABSs. I also finally did the expansion over here. I finally got around to setting this up. This is where we have room for more EBFs and ABSs over here. I'm going to have to find out where I'm going to put a spot for another vacuum freezer, at least for the ABSs. The EBFs will still go to the same vacuum freezer. I'm just going to go ahead and just overclock this one to like ZPM at this stage. I know in ATM 9 I needed two of them. Here that hasn't been nearly a problem. So I think we're fine on that. So yeah, this will just get overclocked to ZPM at some stage, and then it'll be super fast, and it'll be able to hopefully support all these other recipes and stuff over here. We'll have room for two more things of EBFs. And we have room for another 5 ABSs. I'm not sure if this will get used for EBFs or ABSs yet. I haven't planned that out. If I do use it for ABSs, it won't fit quite so nicely. It'll be a little bit off. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, over here, this is where we freeze ender air for liquid ender air to go into the distillation tower. We have 8 IV vacuum freezers here, and this should be able to support a single ZPM fusion reactor or 2 LUV fusion reactors. So we're good here on this. So we have just a bunch here. This is a centrifuge that takes extra deuterium and turns it into tritium. You can just centrifuge deuterium. I always misspell that. You can centrifuge deuterium into tritium at a 4-to-1 ratio. It's not a great ratio, but we get tons and tons of deuterium from the distillation tower. Like for example, because we're doing the distillation tower it's paralyzed to 4 every 100 seconds, we get 200 buckets of deuterium gas. So that's fine. So if we go back over to the clean room, I don't have. Oh, I also built up where the sterilizing clean room will go. Obviously, it's not done yet because we don't have the. We need the sterilizing filters, and these require titanium. So that's pretty expensive. I do remember these were really obnoxiously expensive. So you need the titanium. So once we have titanium set up, we can start making this. However, that's a little bit farther away. But I did want to build this out mainly because I wanted to hide this area. As you got like over in the terraced area, factory floor 2, I couldn't really hide the wall. So we had to do this, pattern so it didn't look so monolithic and terrible. However, if I had built this clean room in the way and just put a solid wall in the back instead of glass like I did over there, it effectively hides this area from anything that would actually really look at it at a close that would make it seem so bad and monolithic. So that way I wouldn't feel so terrible and feel like required to do it like right then and now because I didn't really feel like doing it. This area is a little bit more compact as well. Normally I leave room between like the walkway and the actual machine pads so I can do the full wall around with like the sanded like this stuff. However, I wanted to keep this a little bit more compact. I didn't really want to push it too much far forward, especially because we're already kind of overhanging nothing. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of terraforming here to make it look nice. I didn't really want to spend that extra space, so it's pretty compact. Some extra space for more stuff. I was meaning to get around to this. I've had this like planned out for a week or 2 at this stage, maybe 3, and I just didn't really feel like doing it. And I finally just got around to doing it. Like I said, that break was really good. I was really struggling to like work up the motivation to get stuff done. And playing some Stellaris or whatever for a couple of days really helped with finding my motivation to do stuff again. This is also a subnet. Like I said, I love subnets. Subnets are great. They're fantastic. Put everything on a subnet. Like every time I come to a machine pad, if I'm dealing with fluids, it just goes on a subnet. They're so good. I love them. They're awesome. We do have some changes in here. Because we have LUV stuff, I finally got around to upgrading all of these to ZPM. I also upgraded all of these to EV as well. I tore out all the HV machines. We have room for more as well. That means because we're using EV machines now, we can actually use the advanced system on chip wafers. Between the Nakoda bools and using the EV ones, we could go that, which makes we are allowed to do now the cheapest possible HV circuit recipe. So we have this on passive now. This was pretty helpful. I don't know if we're really using that many HV circuits anymore. Well, we still use them for patterns, actually. HV circuits do get used in making blank patterns, and they get used in making, or we can use them in making, storage components, so I think we use the EV circuits for those. So yeah, we're still looking pretty good over here. This hasn't really gotten changed, except I pulled this one out because this one made HV circuits. So obviously we don't need that, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this over here. But yeah, so this was we should have had this upgrade for a while, though. I set this up actually before we had the plasma turbines, obviously, because I set the plasma turbines up last night. But we were kind of struggling to run all of our machines. Our power consumption was pretty high. And now it's obviously not a problem because fusion is here. It's not next decade, guys. It's now. The future is now. We are here. We're here. It's great. I love fusion. That means we can finally start making some big progress. Another change was down here is I finally fixed this. It broke again, like last video, and I finally got around to fixing it. And actually, the fix I had after that video also didn't work. And the problem with that one is I was using a regular output bus to dump into an interface that would go into the subnet here. And then use an item detector cover down here to detect when items were in it, and then do the whole complete the craft thing. However, the problem is the items were staying in the bus they were getting pushed out of the bus so quickly the detector cover didn't have a chance to detect the items. So this is how I fixed it. And I like this. I think the setup is super clean. It still doesn't require a crafting card. It's crafting card free. If you have a hatred towards crafting cards, you can use this setup. But you have to have 3 faces on a bus available. And how this works is this uses a machine controller frame on it set to inverted, so it only works when it has a redstone signal. So this bus normally is working disabled, so it cannot push items. This one down here is obviously there's a facade in the way. Down here we have an item detector cover, and this gives out redstone. So this one powers this and the crafting completer. So effectively, this bus turns itself on. It stays in there long enough for it to detect that it has items, and then will push them out, and then completes the craft. This also means, because it only pulses once, and it doesn't stay on the whole time, that means if you order, say, 5 missions at once or something, it will slowly tick down. Instead of, completing all of them once it starts or whatever, it will slowly tick down, so it'll clear them consecutively, if that makes sense, like it would if it was a normal crafting recipe. So this is a very clean setup. I'm very happy with this. This didn't actually take too long to come up with, and it's great. I felt so smart after I came up with this. I still haven't done anything over here with setting up any of this micro miner on demand yet. Because we've been keeping the miners rolling, I haven't really been needing to mess with micro miners. I know that's kind of like a big thing for Moni/Nami Factory, but I haven't really been needing him for a while. Especially, we don't even need him for radon anymore either, because we get radon from ender air distillation. So, yeah, you can also make radon. This is how we did it in ATM9. Is we used plutonium, uranium, and air to make a radon gas, and then just looped it. We do use uranium for other things, though, so I'm happy that we figure out we don't have to do it this way. We do burn through uranium pretty quickly. We used to burn through uranium pretty quickly. Now we're in a much better state again, specifically because we have fusion now and it doesn't run nearly so often. Over here, let's see, I don't think I did. Oh, I also upgraded Platline. Platline, I finally got around to adding the multi-blocks. I could have done this weeks ago, but I never really got around to doing it. mostly because I just didn't really feel like it. And I finally started doing it after I saw Platinum Group Sludge hitting like 100,000 to the system. And then I realized that obviously it was way, way too slow. I even had extra centrifuges over here, and I haven't even used them. They weren't even hooked up. I only had one centrifuge running, and I came over here to see what was going on, and I'm like, okay, obviously this is way too slow, and I never got around to hooking up the other centrifuges. And instead of hooking up like 3 other HV centrifuges, I've already sketched out the space for um, the multi-blocks. So I was like, fuck it, the multi-blocks are going in. However, there's a small problem here, and it's sticking out on like like you know how like these are all set back one and these aren't, and that is kind of annoying. Like when I set up LCRs at first, I was setting them up centered, which was a mistake. Um, you know, the problem is I don't really feel like moving all of them. I don't feel like tearing apart Flatline and rebuilding it. Maybe eventually it'll annoy me enough where I will, but I don't really see myself doing that. I don't really spend too much time over here. This is one of my favorite places in the base. I love this area, but I don't spend too much time over here. In here, I don't think I've added too much stuff in here. I haven't upgraded neckline yet. I had to add the UHPIC wafers. We need that for stuff. I forget what it was. Oh, fusion. You need the UHPIC chips for the fusion ones. They get used in the fusion computer. The Fusion Reactor Computer Mark 1. So we need UHPICs for that. It'll get used in the higher tiers of Fusion as well. I think it also gets used in the ZPM stuff. So it was something we needed to do anyway. So I set those up. I think over here that's probably pretty much it. I haven't touched neckline at all. Neckline's been pretty productive. I'd add a few more things over here. You know, gelid cryothium for cryobulus. I guess we can go I can go show Cryobulus, which would be right there. I added Cryobulus ingots. I have 1500 now. It is the UV superconducting material, so we're good on that. We have warden tendrils. This just comes from a loot fabricator. The loot fabricator area, the H&N line is getting a little bit crowded. I do want to figure out somewhere else to move some of this stuff. Like we've had this pulsating prediction line set up pretty much since we moved into the base. I had basically like once we were still at like the lawn base area. I had set up this thing here. Well, actually, I had set up like an MV version, and then not too long after we moved into the base, or maybe even before we moved into the base, I tore it all apart and rebuilt it with HV machines instead. And this was obviously much better. And was able to feed all our new mystics and stuff. However, it's kind of bad compared to what we can do now, especially since we have access to LCRs, multi-blocks and things as well. We have better options of rebuilding this, though it's been good enough for now, especially since we're no longer using the mystics for anything. I'm not even using them to power miners anymore. I think they're still being used. New mystics are still being used actually in a few legacy drills, like down there, and the one that pumps salt water, for example. Those still use new mystics, but nothing else does. So it's fine. We don't really use too much H&N stuff at this stage either. We have nothing that really consumes enough of them to really justify setting up more stuff. So it's H&N is kind of scuffed over here, but it's kind of fallen off by the wayside at this stage. Maybe eventually I'll need to rebuild it, but for now, again, it's not really a priority. Especially since I waited so long to do so much progression. I kind of want to, start building some more fusion reactors and stuff, and start working on getting Europium set up, which would allow us to get some, start moving into ZPM more consistently. We do have the ZPM power. Like when all of plasma turbines are running, it's around 11.2 amps of ZPM just from the plasma turbines. I should say, just from the plasma turbines we have now. If I add another fusion reactor, which I may, I will eventually, we can run more plasma turbines. And I'm pretty sure we could run maybe another 4 plasma turbines off our plasma consumption right now. It's really quite hard to say. I can probably do the calculations, but I haven't really felt like it. It consumes produces 89 helium gas every 3.5 seconds. So we can do the math from there and figure out how fast it is. But right now, it's 8 turbines. is less than it produces. So we still have a little bit of headroom on that. So power is in a really good is in a really good state at this stage, um, which is very nice. I think we can go over and talk about Montana now. Montana has seen some significant upgrades and some significant changes. I haven't been building this area. Like I said, this has been Person's thing. She's the Montana resident, and I'm just a tourist. We have more reactors in general, just for all the different elements. I think we have all the different fuels up to and including americium. This one does UH233. This one also does thorium, I believe. Let's see. I'm super fast now. I love being fast, but sometimes it's a little bit annoying. Yeah, this one is highly enriched 233. This one is still the same thing, Lu235. That's thorium as well. Then we had some more reactors down here. This one is neptunium. I think, what's this one? This one's more thorium. We had a lot of extra thorium and we needed more power, so I asked her to build another thorium reactor at the time. We have americium down here. This one over here is plutonium. We have another plutonium. This is 239. This is 241. And then this one right here is unfiltered. I think this is a breeder reactor she was manually controlling for something. But we're pretty good on elements. And because at this stage we're probably going to need them for their isotopes rather than from power, they may get decoupled from the capacitor bank at a certain stage. So I may just have them feed power into the capacitor bank at all times and just have them endlessly, never turn off effectively, because why waste that power, right? Which might mean the plasma turbines never turn on either. So we're very, very good on power, so I can really start, expanding infrastructure very, very significantly. Over here as well, I rebuilt depleted fuel reprocessing. Originally, it was just a couple, I think only like one or two IV centrifuges were running. And I instead rebuilt it for using multi-blocks. So this is pretty fast. All of these things are running at LUV as well. And there are also another subnet. I love subnets. I'm subnet's biggest fans. Let's go subnets. So it's a great. It's really they're really powerful. I'm telling you guys, subnets. Use them. You won't regret it. I promise. They're so powerful. They're awesome. So like I mentioned before that I was slightly concerned about how I was going to set up centralized fluid storage. And if it was even worth doing. And what I have figured out is not really. There's no really point in setting up centralized fluid storage at this stage because of how I'm doing so many different subnets all over the place, which has its upsides and downsides, I think. I think the upsides is, I don't have to worry about a centralized fluid storage. It's stored all over the place, which gives a lot more capacity. The downside is obviously that you have to worry about priority systems and whether you want some things to be consumed over others. I normally solve that by putting most fluids that are on passive. They generally get an overflow destruction card unless it's something I really want. And if it's something I really want, that's probably the only source. So if something is stored across multiple, for example, methane. We have to go back over here. Petrochem. For example, we have methane, not that one. We have methane here, for example, and we also have methane here. Sorry, that one's connected to mainnet. I kind of want to rebuild this so it's a subnet, so this doesn't see the mainnet, but it's fine for now. We have methane over here. So we get methane here as well, and then we also get methane over here. So we have methane from multiple different sources, so it's always an overflow destruction at this point. We're always voiding excess of it because we get it from so many different places, and you don't even really use all that much. I think we've actually almost filled the methane. Actually, holy crap, we filled the methane drive. I've never actually filled a 1 million drive. This is at 256 before. An ATM-9, I should caveat that. I never filled the 256 fluid storage drive. I filled the 256 item storage drives from ore processing. We had a lot of ore in ATM-9. We are processing a lot. We're processing a lot less here in Monifactory. Like a lot less. I don't think I've made too many changes over here from ore processing since you guys last time you saw it. I still haven't gotten around to adding the tungsten processing here. I need to do that eventually. Hopefully it'll be something I get to in the coming week, but we'll see. Like over here, I'm just using a bunch of unfiltered drives to store most of the materials. There's a caveat to that is things I get a lot of, they do go in bulk drives, like nether quartz and palladium, gallium, Certus quartz, lots and like stuff that we have lots and lots of. Like, redstone, for example, we had almost a million of that, and we've burned through a whole whopping 22,000 over the last week, which sounds like a lot until you realize it's not really that much. We still have 970,000. um, and because we're in ZPM, and then the one after we're almost at ZPM, and the one after that is UV, we're not too far from tank, I think. I know I keep saying that, but tank is sort of like within reach, I think. Like quantum tank, like this stuff just requires a subatomic digitally assembler, which is, a ZPM thing. This is a UV recipe, which will require us to do Darmastadium, but we have fusion, so that's a thing we can do. Not too far away. This is a UHV recipe and a tier 10 miner. So we do have to get a bunch of neutronium and a few other things and stuff too. But we're starting to work towards many of the multi-blocks we will actually need for tank. So I don't know if tank is necessarily within sight, but the things that make tank are within sight. Like research station is something I also need to set up, and I need to start working on getting an area for passive assembly lines. And I think I'm just going to do that somewhere over here. I'm not particularly interested in this terrain. It's not particularly interesting. I mean, ore processing wasn't in a particularly interesting area either, but the reason why I was excited to build that was, one, it's ore processing. Ore processing is one of my favorite systems, if not my favorite system to build in modern Minecraft ever. So I was happy to do that. And I got to do some terrace stuff, so it'll probably just be more or less another terrace thing, but I have to finally get around to planning that out at some stage. I was also maybe possibly planning to build assembly lines over here and kind of place them along this ridge, but that's pretty far away from the main base, and I don't really feel like getting that far away at this stage. I know it's next to Montana, but Montana is also pretty far away from the main base. It doesn't even have a bridge over there. We just have to teleport over there, which is fine. Maybe eventually I'll build a bridge over there. I'll get like bored and stuff and just decide to build it. I still have to build like the bridge supports. There's still been like the placeholders. We've had that since, I don't know, like the first week or the second week or something, since I had built the bridge over here to the other side. So we've had them for a while, and I need to get around to building them. I just haven't done it yet. But yeah, I think that's probably about it. Talked about fusion. I don't think there hasn't really been any changes over here. I added, another machine. I added a compressor. We needed that for something. But yeah, I think that's about everything, guys. I know I can't believe this was another long video. I've only been playing for like 4 or 5 days. I really can't, like I've said before, I really can ramble with the best of them. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm just happy to get back into it. I'm happy that I got my motivation back. Like, sometimes you gotta take a break. That's just how it is. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. So I hope you guys have had a good week. Mine's been pretty good. A restful break, like I've said. And I hope you guys have a good upcoming week. And I will see you all again next week.